All right, welcome to another edition of the Vic Lombardi Prostate Cancer Awareness Podcast, Vlogcast, whatever you want to call it, cast. First time I've interviewed two people at the same time, but I thought it was a very unique opportunity. Both of these guys have their own stories. I'll introduce you to both of them here, but I met them or talked to them at different times. The guy on the far right here wrote this book, Jim Hill. Jim, welcome.
Thank
How
you,
doing, buddy?
Great to be here.
I heard about this book, and I'm not sure how. I think your brother-in-law
I think he tweeted
reached
you,
out
right?
to me. Yes,
Yeah.
your brother-in-law who lives here in the Denver area said you have to read this book. I took him up on it, and it's called Midpoint, Manhood, Midlife, and Prostate Cancer. I'm telling you right now, for anyone who's gone through this or is about to go through this, it's a must-read. So thanks for being here.
Thanks.
Don Sims, who's sitting right here, I started talking to Don a couple weeks ago through another mutual friend who said, hey, I've got a buddy who's going under. He's got the same thing you have. Can you talk to him about it? And we just started exchanging phone calls and texts, correct?
Yes, sir.
And here he's a week removed from surgery. 1 week ago, he was under and just got his catheter taken out earlier today.
That is
How are you
correct.
here? What are you doing?
Well, you invited me, so I'm like, and when I was texting you, I go, oh, like today? You're like 2 p.m. And I'm like, all right.
Didn't that just blow you away?
Yeah.
I mean, I know we both went through this, but
Yeah.
the day you had your catheter removed, I don't know about you, I went home and I said, I'm out.
Yeah.
Everybody stay. And I was at the bathroom every 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have to pee right now, or you good?
Well, I'm wearing a special.
I know, but if you have to
undergarment.
pee, just let me know.
Oh, no, I'll just go in my pants. I'm good.
That's fine. That's
Yeah, that's
Get
why
used
I
to it
have
with
it
a
on.
catheter on anyway.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
might
You
as
know
well-
what's funny about the catheter? Because everybody has war stories about the catheter, and I know Jim, we're gonna talk about some of these. I actually liked, in a weird way, my catheter that I could carry around my bag of urine and do whatever I wanted and go wherever I wanted, and I was not at all embarrassed by it. It's so funny because my kids are like, Dad, you cannot come. I go, yes, I'm coming to your event, and I'm carrying my bag of urine.
It's a briefcase. It's a briefcase.
Yeah, you can disguise it.
It didn't bother me
You
one
didn't
bit.
disguise it?
I carried it. I just
Really?
carried. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
it's not my fault I have cancer.
'Cause
That's how I looked
yeah,
at it.
Yeah. Well, I have the leg holster though. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
You- It was my
didn't have
concealed
the-
carry permit.
Yeah,
you know,
it's,
you
it
wear the
attaches to
leg-
the calf, right?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Very slick.
Did you wear that? It sounded
Oh, I
like
totally
bothered
Hey,
you.
did.
next time.
I never bothered. It was too much work.
Well, I used to, because I could do, I was doing like 10,000 steps
Yeah.
on my Fitbit with my trusty leg band, you know?
Did you have sweats on or shorts?
Yeah, I used to wear like joggers, that sort of
Ah.
thing.
Yeah, so
This-
it is.
This
This
isn't
guy's an
Saratoga.
ultra runner, right? So he does great lengths. So he's used to doing a lot of exercise taxing your body. When were you walking after surgery? How many days after surgery?
I
Like around
literally.
the block.
Well, I'd say the next day
That's crazy,
at the hospital.
dude. I couldn't get from my bed downstairs for like a couple days. How about you?
The first walk in the hospital was tough. It
Yes,
was really tough.
very tough.
The next day, I think I made it out as far as like the end of the block.
Yeah.
And then I'm done. I
And,
gotta
and
go
you
back
felt like
and
you ran a
rest.
marathon,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I mean, you're like wheezing,
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy's walking around the next day. It's crazy how different people recover at different rates with this disease. But that's why I wanted to bring both of you guys in, because we got a guy that, how many months removed from diagnosis?
It'll be 2 years in December, just before Christmas.
2 years in December.
Yep.
You are a week removed from surgery. When were you diagnosed?
Shortly after my birthday, September 15th, I was in Hawaii for my birthday, knowing
That this was
I
happening.
was going to come home
All right.
and get this diagnosis. And so it was, just mid-September.
Okay,
when
so
found
I was
out.
diagnosed, and I had surgery 8 months ago, diagnosed 10 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
So we're all relatively in the same ballpark. Jim, how old are you?
58.
Don?
54.
I'm 50. Now, everybody talks about prostate cancer as, that's an easy one. That's the old man's disease.
Yeah, right.
I don't know about you guys. I don't feel like an old man. I don't consider myself an old man. And when they call this the old man's disease, it really pisses me off, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
What's your
Same.
reaction?
Oh, it drives me nuts. It's like I mentioned in my book that I used to think that based on the descriptions you heard that it was these old guys who would sit and wet their pants on the living room couch because
Yeah.
they were basically falling apart anyway. It's like no, more and more you hear about guys our age. You guys are younger than I am, but getting it and in at their prime. Really?
Younger and younger every year.
Big time, yeah.
Okay. I want to get specifics on the book and some of the chapters you wrote about because we can both relate to it. But I want to start with just a couple facts because it's important to get the facts out. I am, and those of you who have prostate cancer will know exactly the language we're speaking. I am a Gleason 9. I was outside the prostate capsule. My surgery revealed that there were no lymph nodes that were invaded. They took 31 of mine, so that's the good news. But because it's outside the prostate, I am stage 3. What is your situation, Jim?
Okay, so I was Gleason high 7, so 4 plus 3. That's considered a high intermediate risk. The cancer was outside of the capsule pretty extensively, about 2 centimeters outside. But all my margins, my seminal vesicles, my bladder neck, that all came back clear.
Okay.
I think they took about a dozen lymph nodes. That was all clear.
Don?
4 plus 3, Gleason 7. They diagnosed me that it was fairly aggressive prostate cancer. They were going to put me on a six month trial, some medication they wanted to try out, but they decided I didn't have, more aggressive cancer than what I already had. So they decided, no, you're not a good case for this trial. I did just find out a couple days ago that I had no cancer outside the capsule.
That's great.
Yeah, really good news. And I'm still not sure how many lymph nodes they took out. I guess they're kind of tucked in there with all the fatty tissue.
Yeah.
And they took a big chunk of that out, plus a good number of nerves, I think, on the right side of the prostate.
Yeah.
And which will lead to some other issues here down the road.
Yeah,
so.
The issues will remain.
Yeah.
What's that?
All you need is one nerve bundle.
Yeah, I have one nerve bundle.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
No, I think mine are gone.
Both sets of nerves?
I think so.
Okay.
Not on each side,
But okay.
definitely on one side they're gone.
Well, I think on one side mine are gone as well.
Yeah, okay.
Me
That's what I
too.
meant.
I think if you got them on one side, you should be
well,
okay.
one has this purpose and the other one has
Yeah, well,
this
we'll
purpose.
see. That
We
has a
can
way.
talk about
And
that,
one
too.
thing you got to understand about prostate cancer, that's why I want the three of us here. When someone tells you, well, it took me this long, and it took me, every case is so unique and different. Don't take my word for how long it's going to take you to have an erection. Don't take his word for how long it's going to take you to do this, because every case is different. It just is. I mean, you were walking the day after surgery. Right? So the only thing we can do is lean on each other for support, but I'm very wary when other guys are saying, well, you should have expected to do this then. You don't know.
Yeah.
You just don't know. I want to tap into something, guys, about the whole diagnosis and how it changed your life, because I'll give you my story shortly. I've given it many times, so I'll be very brief with mine. I interviewed a hockey player on my radio show. He had colon cancer. He said, hey, go get checked out. You never know. He scared me into it. I said, screw it. I'm going to go get a physical. I went and got a physical. My original doctor had retired, so I had a new doctor. That new doctor said, you're 49 years old. Why don't we do a PSA? You've never had one. I go, what the hell is that? Let's do it. And if not for that new doctor calling for that PSA, who knows where I am today, to be honest with you. I could be a year removed, still not knowing I have cancer. Yeah. Okay? That was a godsend. That's when how I was diagnosed. How were you diagnosed?
Pretty much physical. Had not had a physical for 2 years, and they did the blood panel, and then my new doctor, suggested I get the PSA. She wasn't a fan of the PSA. She did not really recommend me getting the PSA. She basically gave me the keys to the car and said, hey, do you want the PSA test? And I go, well, I probably should, because my dad had prostate cancer.
Oh, so you had it in your family?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, I didn't have any family history.
Yeah. My dad did not die of prostate cancer, but
he had
it. Yeah. He died at 83. And so that led me to believe, well, I should probably get it. PSA test came back high, right around a 10. I think we waited maybe a few weeks, maybe a month, had a second PSA test. That came back just slightly lower,
lower.
9 point, 9 point, whatever. And that's when my primary is like, you should probably get the biopsy.
Does it freak you guys out that primary doctors, and through no fault of their own, they're merchants of what they know. Does it freak you out that they're so laid back? I'll leave it in your court, whether you're not. That to me is unbelievable. Because the way I look at this, why would you not just take the risk? What's the risk reward here?
Yeah, it's a little blood test. You can add it onto your cholesterol exam once a year.
Right.
And and you know what it is? It's I think it's pretty clearly it's the fact that it costs. It costs the system when people freak out about a high PSA
It doesn't
test.
cost the doctor money.
No, but it costs the insurance companies.
Well, what does the doctor care about the insurance company?
Well, they hear about it, I think, from the insurance companies.
That's what's amazing to me.
Yeah.
If it's not costing the doctor any money, why wouldn't the doctor be preemptive about this to the point where you're vigilant about it?
Yeah.
And I hear so many stories about primary care doctors saying, not sure I believe in it. Hell, I believe in it today.
Yeah.
Okay, what about yours, your diagnosis?
So my doctor had always been, he was a really great guy. He used to always do the digital rectal exam, and those always came out fine. And then he was getting ready to retire, and he had himself decided to go ahead and get a PSA test for himself for the first time, and he ended up having prostate cancer. So he said, hey, look, it'd be a good idea if you just do a test, get a baseline.
He didn't give his own prostate exam. Did he do his own?
That sounds awkward.
I don't know. I'm sorry to be. I'm just wondering if you could.
Probably could have.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, go on.
He has a long reach.
Long fingers. You never know. So he said literally he's called over to the hospital and added a PSA test onto a blood test. I had already given the blood already, so he just added it on. And then they called me the next day and said, "You got 15.4 PSA. We need to get after it." Wow. It was purely good luck.
Mine was luck too.
Right, it was not on your radar.
You had no symptoms, no.
And you weren't 50 yet either.
So. I was not even on schedule to get a PSA until the following year.
Yeah.
But your situation, I'm not saying it's similar to Don's, but you did have cancer in the family. Your parents, correct?
Both my parents. My dad died of pancreatic cancer. My mother died of breast cancer. And it turns out that I believe this is right, that there is a gene mutation. I think it's BRAC, something like that.
Yep.
That if a parent has it, it can indicate for both, or it can cause both breast cancer or prostate cancer. So I think probably, I haven't checked it, but I think probably that's
I went through that whole gene
You did
mutation. Oh yeah, I did gene testing and all that. I did not come back with that's what made mine crazy. No family history, no symptoms, no gene issues, nothing. Yeah. And I don't know about you guys, but I find myself so many times sitting there in the quiet going, so how the hell did I get this?
Yeah.
I'm watching a buddy of mine eat like crap. He never exercises.
Yeah.
He treats his midsection like it's a freaking Oklahoma rest stop. And I'm the one who, how does this, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Do you guys ever think like that, or is that just me?
Yeah, it's really tempting to think that way because, it's, you take care of yourself and you think why, and they actually say that there is a link between prostate cancer and diet and, good clean lifestyle.
Yes, all you hear after the fact.
And here are three guys who take care of themselves and all got nasty.
Pretty good shape.
Yeah.
Eat decent. Exercise.
Right. And the exercise is a big thing, and those of you who listen who want to know after the case, what do you do? I've changed my diet dramatically. I grew up in an Italian family, so eating mom and dad's house every day, pasta, provolone, salami, none of that stuff enters my body anymore. I don't do the sugar thing. I don't do spaghetti. I don't do any of that. I eat as much plant-based food as I can. And I still, drink wine. I haven't stayed away from that. But I've done that not because I think it's going to cure me or keep cancer away. I've done that because I'm going to give myself the best chance. If there's rumor out there that it can help you, I'm going to do it. That's the way I look at it. Yeah. Have you done anything with your diet?
Yeah, I think I had a pretty good diet to start with, and I've just tried to be a little bit better. Less animal fats and animal protein, more plant protein. I've always been pretty good about sugar. But I probably carry 10 extra pounds. I should probably try to drop because they say that any of those are a factor.
Where are those 10 pounds coming from? Not exercising or just diet?
No, it's from diet.
Okay.
Because I'm a pretty good exerciser. I think it's probably just maybe or eating too late at night.
Yeah, maybe when you eat.
Yeah.
How about you, Don? Because again, you're still not sure. I walked in today and you were chewing a piece of candy, and I said you haven't had a piece of candy in 8 months.
And to me, that's mind-boggling. The sugar will definitely be tough to cut out. It's something I'm going to work on. The sodas, trying to eliminate that. I can't say I'll eliminate it completely. But for me, yeah, and when I'm not doing my normal running and exercise, you know, I've committed murder my whole life. I've ate or drank whatever I wanted.
I had the same
For
impression
54
because I work out
years.
hard. I don't care.
Yeah, and you know, when you're running, when you're training for a
You have
50
to.
or 100 mile, or you can do whatever you want.
Sure.
But now it is a bit of a rude awakening, and you know, I have a lot of plant-based friends that are trying to get me to, you know, come to the other side, and not that I'll ever fully make the leap, but yeah, to eliminate some, you know, beef and some of this other stuff. It's probably a good idea.
I can't wait for you, Don, to read Jim's book because you are the perfect candidate. I could see your mind working. You have so many questions, and Jim does such a great, eloquent job of answering a lot of questions for people that are going through this. How did you decide to write a book about this, Jim? When did you decide?
You know, it's funny when I got diagnosed, I started looking around. You know, this is what you do, right? You get the diagnosis and you start looking for resources on what am I going to go through? What am I in for? And everywhere I went is like all that good cancer stuff, and either that or just this really, really clinical. Here's what's going to happen, but
Real medical.
None of it was like like another guy talking to you saying, "Dude, here's what's going to really happen."
How do you know what's propaganda and what's not on the internet?
Right.
That's
Exactly.
the thing.
Yeah. And I wanted to be told, you know, what's it going to feel like the day after surgery? What, you know, how long does it take before you can have sex again? How, am I going to be wetting my pants for the rest of my life? Or at least what were one guy's experiences of that? And I couldn't find it. So I basically, for me, I wrote it because it was the book I wanted somebody else to have written already.
Sure.
And I wanted to, and the other thing that I've run into, which isn't happening in this room, but you know, generally speaking, guys just don't talk about this stuff. They clam up. They don't want to have anything to do about it. And I felt like, you know what, somebody's got to start the conversation about this. You know, because
That's why I started doing these things.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, because I think we as guys, we're so damn prideful about our health, especially our sexual health, our, you know, peeing and all that business.
Yeah.
That I just don't understand why. We didn't want this. The one thing ladies have done so much better than men. Breast cancer is an awful disease. My grandmother passed of breast cancer, but they are so much more in tune with that disease because they understand their bodies better than we do.
Yeah.
Before I got prostate cancer, I did not know what a prostate was. I'm not joking. I would hear about prostate cancer, but I thought, is that what is that in the stomach? I didn't even know what it was.
Yeah.
That's how dumb I was about my men's health, and that's one of the reasons why I want to do this. I want to ask you about this because took some notes. Right?
Get ready.
All right.
Get ready.
And this resonated with me. And Don, this I'm going to tell you. One thing we need to start doing as men, and you are so well written, is we need to own our own health care. When you have a physician tell you, what do you think? You want to do this? Do you want to do this PSA? And that's where I'm going. Yeah, I want to do as much. I want to own my own health care. Before, when I was I didn't care. Whatever the doctor wanted. What do you want to test me for that?
much.
Want to do this? Yeah, whatever. What am I getting?
Just get me out of here.
Exactly. I got a tea time. Just when can I get out of this chair? It's amazing how much more I listen, pay attention, and how much humbler I am because of this. What does that mean to you by owning your own health care?
Well, I think it means just really, really starting to pay attention to what's going on. You know, I'm at the midway point of life, or most likely well beyond that.
The midpoint?
And, the midpoint. Yeah, and you know, I never thought I couldn't get cancer being an endurance athlete. I always thought in the back of my mind it could be the reason maybe I'm going to get cancer. But I think when my other primary care physician left and went to another practice, I got this new lady. I kind of looked back and went, man, I haven't even had a physical in 2 years now. Haven't even thought twice about it. But I've had some other issues, running related issues where I can't run now. I'm not my normal self. So all of a sudden it's like, okay, you should grab a hold of this and make sure you're doing what
Do
you need.
you
to
know
do
how
to
young
cure it.
people die from this disease? They go 10, 15 years without a physical. Not 2, 10, 15.
Yeah.
And it hits them, and by the time they know it hits them, it's throughout their body.
yeah.
Right,
My
right.
brothers, I got a brother hadn't had a physical in 6 years. Never needed one, he felt. Never found the urgency to go get one.
But this guy's attention.
This is what, how about you? Owning your own health, what does that mean?
You know, I was very much the same way. Just, you know, I think I was a pretty good health consumer, but only pretty good. And so the thing that I kept having these moments where I would find out that there was a report or a decision that was kind of taken for granted, that and I wasn't playing my part in it. You know, for example, understanding when I got my I was telling you earlier that when I got my biopsy results, it indicated that there was an extracapsular extension, you know, that the cancer is outside of the prostate. And the doctor didn't mention it to me, and I didn't know it until I went down to Sloan Kettering later, and they pointed it out. That's a huge deal, and I simply hadn't paid attention to it. So for me, it was like, don't be passive. Know what you should be asking for, and then also, honestly, being willing to change doctors, change facilities, be kind of an asshole about it if you have to. Right?
It's
As your
okay
own
to be an
advocate.
asshole.
Absolutely.
This is you.
Right.
Yeah.
You
Nobody
know,
else is going to advocate,
It's
right?
funny about
Yeah.
that because I come from a pretty humble immigrant family, where a doctor's advice is that's a papal advice. That's you don't go against what a doctor tells you,
Right.
and you're used to living that way, and you never confront the doctor. But this makes you wait a minute. This is my body, not yours. So yeah, I want to share with you guys a text exchange that I had with Don earlier today, and the reason I'm bringing this up is because I was in your shoes. And I wanted to get this out there. There's a wonderful thing I'm going to quote from your book. Don, you sent me this today, and it would and I don't want to embarrass you, but I just wanted you to know how heartfelt I am about this. You sent this to, hey Vic, catheter is out this morning. I did receive some really encouraging news on November 19th. The pathology results on the lymph nodes and tissues all came back negative. As of now, I'm guessing I'm considered cancer-free. To which I replied, partially. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I showed my wife. I go, that wasn't the right thing to say.
That's good to hear, Don, but I don't like the term cancer-free. F that. If cancer invaded once, it can invade again. And then it went on and on and on.
Right.
And I don't want to be an asshole about that.
No, I'm fine with it.
But that's the problem, I think, with a lot of people who have reoccurrences and don't want to. Just because you have surgery and everything's thumbs
Looking
up.
good. Yeah.
We're in this now, right?
Yeah.
That's the way I look. And I think that's a healthy way. You might say, oh, ignoring it is the best way. I don't want to ignore it. This is part of me now. It's part of you and it's part of you.
Yeah.
Is that how you see it?
Absolutely. I mean, it's. I always think about like my life now is you're on a 3-month cycle. I'm on a 6-month cycle where every time I get a PSA check, it's like getting permission to go to the next
like a new
6
life.
months. Yeah. And then the anxiety builds up for the next one. But I kind of have accepted that's the cadence now because I'm going to be looking back over my shoulder at this potential thing for the rest of my life. And you know, if that's the deal, that's the deal. I can handle
It's like running the hills in Leadville. You just got another hill to climb, and you get over. Let me read this.
It's another false
Isn't
summit.
it? Isn't it?
False summit.
False summit. Yeah.
This when you wrote this, Jim, that's the thing with cancer. Good news is only lasts until the next test result, at which point all the optimism of the previous few weeks or months can vanish with a single bad number. That's all that goes through my mind. I have my next blood test in 2 weeks. I feel so good and so confident right now. But those moments when you're waiting for that doctor to walk in and give you that number, none of this matters. It just vanishes. You know, it's like, oh my God. And then as soon as you get the number and what you want to hear, it feels like, okay, I'm good. I'm out.
Oh man, I told my wife, I said,
Lease on life.
I don't think there's anything better than getting that PSA undetectable. I mean, for me, it's like winning the lottery every 6 months when it happens, you know. And then, of course, the alternative is not so exciting.
Do you guys ever have those moments? I know I did. Where you thought you were going to die? You just thought about death more openly, mortality? Did you ever think it through? Like, I'm going to die. Like, maybe sooner than later.
To me, it's something that just came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, wow, you know, I'm man, who knows? This could be it. I've never had a real serious health scare till now.
Yeah.
You know, I've only been in the hospital one other time, ironically, St. Anthony's up here in Lakewood, for a colitis issue. but that wasn't serious. Nothing like this. Yeah. So for me now, all of a sudden, it's like, oh yeah, I could be dead tomorrow. I just read on, not to get off subject, but a friend of mine from United, I work for United Airlines still, and a guy I know, known him for years, died.
Of prostate cancer?
No. They're not saying what. I think I know, but they're not saying what it is. And, you know, just like that, he's gone.
Yeah.
If you took one look at this guy, you would go, there's no way this guy has died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How sadistic I am? I go to the newspaper now and I read the obituaries looking for why people died. That's, seriously, I mean, that's how crazy I am about this. You?
Yeah, I mean, I was always probably a little bit more obsessed with mortality than I should have been, but yeah, definitely, man. Especially when I had heard that it got outside of the capsule, I thought, fuck, that's it. Then I'm, you know, it's in my bloodstream. Mm-hmm. It's going to show up, and I started having these like fears that if I had a twinge in my hip, or my back hurts, like, oh, it's in the bones, you know. And
I still get those.
Do you?
Yeah. I was lifting the other day, and I was like, well, I've never had that one before. Yeah. And that's the first thing you think of.
Whole new kind of fear, right?
Yeah. I've asked my urologist multiple times. I've had an L4 issue, a torn labrum issue in my hip, but I've had all this residual pain in the top of my leg and my quad. And I've asked him 3 or 4 times. I go, are you sure it's not related to this prostate stuff? I know we did the bone scan. I know we had the CAT scan. We've jumped through all the hoops, but to this day, I still am like, wow, what is going on here? Mm-hmm. And he's like, no, it's nothing cancer related.
But you just can't help it.
Yeah, because I still have it.
Page 133, I made the note here, the guilt of cancer. And there's a guilt that comes with it. What do you mean by that, Jim?
For me, it had to do with, I felt like my cancer was the last thing my family needed when it happened.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure you guys probably see it the same way. As a husband, as a father, you want to be the go-to guy. You want to be a strength. You don't want to be the guy who needs help.
Don't want to be
to the
burdensome.
bathroom. Right, exactly. Mm-hmm. And I felt like, oh, great. Now I've burdened my family with this whole thing. They're going to be worried about me all the time. And not just my immediate family, but my siblings as well. I don't want to be a source of worry, but it is what it is. And one of the most important things for me in the whole process, I'm curious to hear what you guys thought, was allowing other people to worry for me. Saying, what, let them worry if they want to worry. It's okay because they love me, But it was a hang up for me.
How'd you tell your kids?
I have one daughter, and she came home from college the day I got diagnosed. So the next morning we got up and we told her, and I admit, and I said this in the book, I gave it to her a little euphemistically. It's a good cancer.
Yeah.
It's all okay.
You're doing that for her.
Yeah, sure.
When you know differently.
Absolutely. And I was scared to death, but I don't want her to be scared.
How about you? How'd you share it with your family?
Well, my son knew, me heading to Hawaii. He knew, I just said, hey, I had to get this biopsy, and I'm coming to Hawaii to hang out with you and your wife and the 2 grandkids, and we're not going to know anything until I get back. So, no need to overthink it or stress about it. And then once I get home, I'll know the results. I think, though, for my wife, it's, I can't imagine not having her on board. Mm-hmm. If I was single. I'd spent many years where I was single, in and out of relationships, married really young, divorced really young. I didn't get married until, 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I just sit there and go, now I'm a burden on her. But if I didn't have her on board.
Can't do this alone.
It's scary, and I have another friend like we were talking about that has this high PSA. Yeah, he's single. He has a lot of support, a lot of friends, but just not to have, a spouse or partner this, to me, it would be brutal.
I want you guys to be as honest as you can on this one, because I know that your spouses will eventually watch this. Has this made it harder, easier, better? How's this changed your relationship, Jim, with your wife?
I think overall it's made it better, because what I eventually had to do, I didn't have any choice. I just had to allow myself to be a lot more open with her and just say, hey, look, I'm scared to death. at various points, or because initially I wouldn't have her come to doctor's appointments, and I would kind of keep her at arm's length because it's a guy thing. I got this, And then over time, it got too intense, especially when I get recatheterized a couple times. And
Yeah, he did a couple
I
catheters.
Yeah, I liked it so much the
I
first
can't
time.
even fathom that.
Well-
When they took that out, I was like, thank God.
Try having it
Just-
put in when you're conscious
Oh, my
twice.
God.
Yeah, I was going
Oh
to
my
ask you.
God.
You're not under.
No,
So reestablishing the catheter, they don't put you back under for that?
no.
They give you a local or anything.
They just give you a little tiny local right on the
Are you
on the
kidding me?
business
And so
end,
you're
then
sitting there-
just and the two times I had it done, they were not good at it, and it was
They're hitting and missing?
oh yeah, it was agonizing. It was
I
It's
can't
probably
even
getting
fathom.
bound up.
yeah. I remember at one point the nurse who was trying to jam this thing in was saying, "Oh, this is the hard part. You just got to kind of push through this part."
Oh,
I'm thinking that hard part is my body that you're
Yeah,
you're
that's
messing
going to
with
pop
right now.
out.
Yeah,
pop
right,
out
right.
somewhere else.
See, the actual surgery was a breeze.
Yeah, sleep
You
through it.
wake
and-
up,
Yeah,
you're fine.
yeah,
But that part, the other
to
elements.
me, that
yeah. Don't go there.
it's the
I think that was pretty unusual, though. I think most I've not read, and I keep track of a lot of prostate guys on Facebook. I've never heard somebody else go through that, so hopefully that's not a common.
What about anxiety? You've been open. You've seen therapists?
Yeah.
I have no problem with. Sometimes your wife's not enough. Your kids
Right.
are. You need somebody else to
Right.
talk to.
Right.
Why? Why do you advise doing that?
Well, I mean, first of all, guys, we're the last to acknowledge when we're in over our heads. Whether it's physically or psychologically. And for me, it's just there is a convergence, which what I was driving at in the book. I mean, prostate cancer hits a guy typically at a time when you're going through a lot of changes anyway, right? I mean, we're used to a certain kind of trajectory, and then you hit your 50s, and you're not necessarily going up still. You're maybe not as strong as you used to be, not as whatever the ways that you're changing, and it kind of hits you when you're down a little bit. And so yeah, I had a little bit of anxiety before the prostate cancer diagnosis, and I remember telling my wife, like, cancer is not a great thing to get when you've already got a tendency to have anxiety,
We're already vulnerable in our 50s.
right? Yeah. I
Hair's
mean,
changing
totally.
colors.
God,
You can't do
can't
what you
get the
used
belly
to do.
fat off the way you used to, right?
This last piece of vulnerability is like the final straw. It's
Yeah.
like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. It's like who's trying to who what God is trying to shit on me?
Yeah.
It's like, that's what it felt like, and I'm a big advocate if it helps, absolutely. I mean, I've got a guy that I see who's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, he's fantastic. I
You
love seeing
seem
him.
pretty calm, cool.
I think maybe it totally hasn't hit me like a ton of bricks.
And I don't want to be that presence, like, oh my God,
No,
because
no.
it is what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe it won't hit you that way either.
And you know what? Good for you. Everyone's
I-
wired differently.
It's the old adage, we all die of something,
Yeah.
and it's, do I want to die of cancer? No. Would I rather die running a 100-miler and getting hit by lightning? Wouldn't be a bad way to go. But I've had some anxiety because I came into this whole cancer thing not my normal self for the past year. I had my greatest athletic accomplishments in 2018 pretty much, and then this year's just been a bust. And so when the prostate cancer diagnosis came up, mentally it's like, wow, depressed, sad, crying. It's I've run the gamut with all that stuff, and then the stress, like we talked about earlier, the stress on my son. He has a challenging job. He has young kids. He has some health problems himself, and so now all of a sudden he's having to take this on, and my wife has done awesome with it. She's the one that's straight and narrow with this, that everything's going to work out. But
You mentioned your son. I that's one thing that I feel so much guilt. It worries me. God, I wonder if I'm going to give my kids cancer. I wonder
Totally
if
agree.
you know what I'm saying? Like my son, I have a 20, soon to be 21-year-old son, and I'm like, "Are you okay? Get to the doctor. Is
Yeah,
this
yeah,
okay?"
yeah.
And like my daughter said something like, "Go get a breast check." Go, and I feel that every day. I'm so freaking freaked out by that.
Yeah.
And crazy question. Do you guys ever say how old you want to be? Like Like when I was before this diagnosis, I never thought like the end, right? I was like, yeah, whatever. And like you hear about people dying. God, right now, if someone said to me, how old, 75 is good. I'll take 75. I'm 50 right now. I'll give you 25 more years. I'll take it right now. Where do I sign? I'll take 75 right now. Do you guys ever think in those terms, or am I the only one?
I wonder if the number keeps getting pushed out.
Well, it may. It may. But do you think in those terms?
Sure, yeah.
Because these doctors, they start spitting numbers at you as soon as you get diagnosed.
Right.
And they go, okay, well, 5 years. And you're like, what?
That puts me at 65.
Exactly. Yeah,
Or-
you never think of those
whatever.
terms. You never think of your life ending because of some chart.
Yeah.
But now it's got me on that, and I can't shake it.
Yeah.
You know, for me, I feel definitely want to go over 80 years old, especially when you're past the midway point of your life.
Yeah.
You're like, all of a sudden, I got a quote I want to read here before we wrap it up.
Sure.
It just kind of sums it up for me.
Yeah, but you're not running hundreds at age 80, are you?
No, but a good chunk of us all aspire to be running well into our 70s. And
That's awesome.
you can be the top dog because you're the only dumbass out there running. You're the only 79-year-old still running, so you win your age group.
How about you, Jim? Do you think of numbers? Ages?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I kind of peg it to my father. He died when he was 88. And he was really healthy right up until he got that pancreatic cancer, and it took him out in like 6 weeks. So my view is kind of, I want to be, as long as I can, I mean, a lot of it has to do, I want my wife around, and then as long as I can be reasonably active, and with it, I'd like to live that long. If I have no interest though in like getting to 75 and then spending the next 10 years in a wheelchair or something like that. That doesn't interest me.
The area that guys don't get into on this subject, and this is all open, I don't care what people know, is your sexual relationship with your spouse. I've been married now for close to 25 years. We've had 3 kids. Obviously I'm not having kids anymore. So our sexual relationship is not nearly what it used to be. And I hate to say this, I'm sort of fine with that. My wife is not. But I'm like, this is what it is. What do you want me to do?
Right.
You got a relatively new marriage. You're 2 years in. You guys talk about that?
We do, and to me, it's maybe a little bigger issue with me than with my wife.
Yeah.
I have been with her though, with another 8+ years on top of that. So I've been, we've only been married for 2 years, but yeah, it's, to me, this whole prostate thing, that was definitely one of the biggest showstoppers for me, straight up.
Of course. Why wouldn't it be?
It's like, wow, I'm not 90, I'm not 80, 70, and so today I came to terms that, this is kind of where I'm at right now. And she's like, oh, everything's going to be fine and everything's going to work. But, I'm not so sure. I know there's a lot of, drugs out there.
Have you taken the blue pills yet?
Have I?
Have you taken the blue pills yet?
We haven't even talked about it.
They haven't given you the blue.
No.
He's only if you're only a week off though. I mean, you just got the catheter out. That you wouldn't, right?
They gave me mine right after the catheter.
Is that right?
Oh yeah.
It hasn't even been a topic of discussion, and then I don't see
Talk to me
my
after this.
guy
I got a
until
nice collection
December.
of blue pills you can.
Okay.
You'll
we
be
can
fine.
share them.
You'll be fine.
Okay, do you have it?
You'll be.
Excess?
Trust me, those things work, and I didn't know they work. They work like.
And I don't need the plumbing to work like immediately, but
you think
it's kind of horrifying.
Of course. How about you,
It's
Jim? How's it changed with your wife?
She was just incredibly patient and said, look, whatever comes of this, I'm there. There are a lot of ways to have sex, first of all, right? But Vic knows this from my book. I went on a protocol that Sloan Kettering runs where there's this whole risk that even if the nerves are intact and you will eventually heal, the nerves go into what they call hibernation mode for up to 2 years, where you can't get an erection, even though maybe someday you can. And so they put me on this protocol where is an injection therapy 3 times a week, an injection, and miraculous.
Injection
when I
right in the
read
jump.
that, when
Really?
I read that, I'm sitting there going, what?
It's not that bad.
It's funny. I love the
It's
term
like
you
a
just used.
cortisone
I
injection
love,
or what?
remember this. Remember that it's not that bad, because every time you shut your eyes and say, "Wait, I got to wear a diaper," no, it's not that bad. Wait, you got to wear something. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
It's not that bad.
You figured it out.
Change is so hard for us to adapt to.
Yeah.
It's not that bad. Really is a good way to look at it.
Yeah,
Figure it out.
Yeah, and also consider the alternative, right?
Yeah.
But this program that Sloan does is incredible, and they had I was part of a study where they had a like a caseworker call me every month and ask me about my progress and check with my motivation, because to be honest, there's not a man alive who's motivated to stick a needle in his junk 3 times a week. But what it does is
Unless
it
you're
keeps,
a major drug addict and you run out of room.
and you run out of places to go.
Yeah.
But what it does is it keeps things healthy while the nerves are healing.
Thanks, Vic, for that. I'm
just
glad I got my diaper on. Just let one go.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Hey, that's funny.
You see a little sweat coming down?
A story, I think I shared this
You
with
did.
I don't know if I've shared it with you, Jim.
It's a good one.
The doctor
It's
said
a
to
good
me,
one.
hey, you're going to have those moments where you leak a little bit, and it's just going to squirt out because your body moves a certain way, a muscle moves. So a month after my surgery, I'm in the media, and I'm interviewing a member of the Avalanche, the hockey team here in town, and we're at center ice after a big win in the playoffs over Calgary. I'm interviewing Nathan McKinnon. I'll never forget it. I'm sitting there, and everybody's watching. The room is loud. They're rousing. And after my first question, I slipped on the ice with my back foot. And as soon as I slipped, pee. And it peed hard.
Visible?
But that's I didn't know. I was like, did I just put yellow on the ice? And I'm sitting there horrified. I don't even know what he said after that. He could have said anything. I don't know.
Oh my God.
Thankfully, nobody saw it. But that's what I'm talking about. You
Oh
have
my
those
God.
moments where you are just horrified, and it hurts you more than you think.
Well, in the laughter is, it's tough enough
Be
here,
careful.
but
Don't
now
go to
all
any
of a sudden
comedy
it's
clubs.
here.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't even know if I have the depends on the right way. I think it's on backwards. Does the big pad go in front?
I didn't know myself. I hated
don't
putting
know.
that thing on, and it just felt so weird. But after a while, again, it's like, what the hell? I got a whole thing at home if you want them. I stopped wearing them after a while.
Well, I might need some. So
Yeah. Well, how long did you wear yours for?
1 day.
1 day.
That's
I think
it?
I went a week. I told you a week.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then
Oh,
after
yeah.
that, I just added they had
pads.
the little tiny pads,
Yep.
little numbers that are like.
I did that another 2 weeks. Yeah, I was done.
Yeah, it's. I mean, everybody's different, obviously, but I was kind of amazed by how quickly that got better.
It's amazing
it has
how
been a
quickly
non-issue
the
for
body
me.
adapts.
Okay, so
It's
you're
amazing.
promising 1 day. Perfect.
I'm not promising anything, but I'm telling you, in my case, it was it's an incredibly minor issue.
Okay.
It's the least of your concerns.
Yeah.
Well, it makes me just want to go sit on the toilet.
Well, I think
just hang
I
out.
think the older
and,
dudes
make sure everything's
No,
out.
seriously,
Everything out?
the older
Everything
dudes
out?
have a longer, tougher road back when it comes to that.
Right.
The younger you are, the more fit. All right, last topic, and I'll let you guys go because we've been at this for a while, and I really appreciate it. But we always talk about how did you get this? I think there's one thing that we all want to avoid. God help it, and if it happens, I don't want to do hormone therapy. I don't want to do it because it scares the hell out of me. I've heard war stories about hormone therapy. I work out daily. I work out religiously. I'm very proud of being able to work out like you are. Everything you read about ADT hormone, we're back on the air for the record.
Okay.
When you're doing
PG-13.
when you're
Back to
doing
the
research on this and you're reading stuff like shrinkage, and
It's a real thing.
exactly like all this stuff, and you're like, what? And then you go down this internet rabbit hole. That's what the first month for me. You lived on the internet. Did you live on the internet?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I
Even though the
got
doctor
in
said
a lot
don't do it.
No, my wife said don't
Yeah.
do it, and I still did it.
Yeah,
and
of
she would get mad.
How can you not?
Yeah.
Oh man.
It's your life.
Yeah.
I mean, what you're gonna not?
Google, baby, that'll tell you everything.
But that's the danger of the internet because you don't know what's real and what's not.
Yeah.
To be honest
Right.
with you, a lot of it is for different reasons. All right, guys, I'm gonna call it with this. And I know you got a quote you want to read, but I'm gonna call it with this. What is the next marker for you? What's the next flashpoint? I guess for me, I got a blood test in 2 weeks, and then if I get through that, fine. If the blood test comes back where my PSA moves, I'm going to be ultra aggressive about this. I've already told my doctors. I want to see if I can get to one of these new scans, these PSMA scans that are out now. whatever scan is out there, I'm going to use science to help me. And I don't give a shit if it costs money out of my pocket. I want to make sure I get to those scans. What's your next flashpoint, Jim? When's the last time you got a test?
I was tested in October, so I come up again in April.
And you're undetectable?
Yes.
Okay.
And what does that look like?
The
0.0?
Sloan Kettering's is less than 0.05.
Okay.
Okay.
It has to be less than.
Interesting. Ours is less than 0.01. I wonder why there's such a disparity in what that is. What about you? I mean, you just started, so.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't really know. I mean, I haven't even seen the urologist since I think surgery.
Okay.
And I'll see him in mid-December, maybe third week of December, and then we can talk about stuff.
Yeah.
You know, when do I get the next PSA test?
Okay.
When do I get the blue pill? When do you know?
Well, if you want to buy some of mine,
oh, now I have to buy them.
Black market.
God, I got to make some money off of this somehow.
You were going to give me free diapers, but I have to buy
diapers
the
are free, so I'm going to get them out of my house.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, Jim. How do people get the book?
It's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all the major online booksellers.
And I'm telling you right now, I do a lot of reading. As far as this subject matter is concerned, this is as good as it gets. He's very, very well written, very well read. He did a great job.
Thank you.
Did a great job describing this whole thing, so I really appreciate that. Don, you had something to read before we go?
Yeah, this is so as people know, I'm a huge Tom Petty fan.
Oh, me too.
I mean, when he passed away a couple years ago, it was brutal. This quotes off the best of everything. The name of the album, Southern Accents, the best of everything. And when I got the diagnosis, this is the quote. It's over before you know it. It all goes by so fast, and the bad nights take forever, and the good nights don't ever seem to last. And straight up, that just resonates with me. So much of his music resonates with me, but that one particular song and lyric, just tough to listen to right now.
Hard to beat Tom Petty.
Don?
Yeah, thank you.
Jim? Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it. Hopefully you guys watch this. You learned something. If you have any questions, reach out. We'll do it again in no time. Thanks again.